Apparently, John has created like an IMDb page. He has like headshots taken, and it's like, bitch, don't you sell tile? Stay in your lane. Stick to tile, girl.
I've been a nasty girl, nasty. I've been a nasty girl, nasty. I've been a nasty, nasty, nasty.
Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my recap of the second episode of season 14, Real Housewives of New Jersey. These recaps are a little bit delayed because I filmed the first one 6 days late because I had a sinus infection last week and I'm still dealing with like some sinus allergies. And then this one's delayed a little bit because I was editing the first one. And so after this video, we should be all caught up so that way I can film these closer to being in real time. Yes, thank you for bearing with me and also bearing with me and sticking with me through this transition that I'm having or that I'm going through here on YouTube. I still don't exactly know what I am doing long term on YouTube or like with my life in general. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, but thank you for holding my hand through this, okay? If you have not subscribed to my channel, then please take a moment to subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into it now. Okay, so we open this episode with Danielle Cabal taking her daughter to go get headshots done. I think her daughter is maybe around 5 years old or so. And I guess Danielle wants her to be a model or something like that. So we open up to her at the photo shoot, and then she mentions that she is throwing a party for her husband who had a brain tumor removed, and so it's just kind of like a celebration of life recovery. So yes, Danielle mentions that she's throwing this party and all the girls are invited. Danielle during this segment also mentioned how she is still not in contact with her brother. Her brother cut off contact with her. Let me know if you watch the show and you know why her brother cut her off, because I feel like she explained a little bit before, but it was never quite clear. She's saying that it's kind of like out of the blue, but I feel like anytime somebody goes no contact with a family member, the person who like they cut off, that person always says like, oh, I don't know why. They just stopped talking to me one day, knowing good and damn well, deep down inside, they know the real reason. I may be wrong, but I feel like this is one of those situations. She also mentions that her brother had a baby, or else it was one of his kids' birthdays or something like that, and she sent a gift to him, and that her brother sent it back. Girl, what's the tea on that? And now Danielle is upset with her father because she feels as though her father is taking her brother's side, because Danielle feels as though her father should have stood up for her in the situation where her brother sent the gift back. So now Danielle is mad at her dad, and she said that she cut off contact with her dad now because of that. So my thoughts on that are, anything could have happened. I don't know, but I just feel like whenever somebody cuts you off, their reasoning for the person cutting them off is just kind of like, I don't know, one day they just stop talking to me and they're sending gifts back. I feel like they're concealing the truth, or maybe they're in denial of the truth of why they got cut off. I could be wrong. Her brother could be like a narcissist or a psychopath for all I know. I don't know, it doesn't make sense. And then on top of that, the fact that she's now cutting her father off because her dad didn't in her mind stick up for her. I find that to be weird. But then she did say that she's like, well, I'm not talking to my dad, but he's still in my kid's life and he still talks to me. I heard her say that and I was like, what the hell does that mean? I understand the part where it's like, oh, well, I don't want a relationship with you, but you can have a relationship with my kids. Although I also feel like if I'm bold enough to cut you off, then you're not going to be in my kid's life either. That's just my opinion. If I give you the kiss of death, you're not going to be in my kid's life. Especially to cut off a parent or grandparent of your children. I feel like they must have done something so wrong to you to the point that you want to cut them off. And also, it's like, what do you mean he's talking to you, but you're not talking to him? Does he like text you and then you just ignore his text and don't reply? Does he call you and you ignore his calls? Like, I don't know. I just thought that was kind of weird. Hopefully this season, the real reason comes out as to why her brother cut her off. because I want to know. Because I'm nosy, basically. I'm a nosy bitch. So later we have Melissa and Joe throwing Antonia a birthday party. She's turning 18, which I can't believe. So they have a nice little brunch, it looks like, at a nice restaurant. It's beautiful, with a couple of her friends, a bunch of family, or at least Melissa's family, because Joe doesn't talk to any of his family anymore. During this brunch, Melissa, she starts to tell the birth story of Antonia. She's like, 18 years ago today, I was laying on the table like a piece of meat getting cut open. I get it, it's like a humorous thing or whatever, but this is like a very on brand for Melissa thing. I don't mean to be on Melissa's dome. Like, there are aspects about her that I do enjoy, especially her husband. I love Joe. I love Joe Gorga, especially in the earlier days. I just feel like Melissa has this certain type of banter that she has when it comes to her daughter. Her go-to is like, oh, let me say something embarrassing. And I know parents do that sometimes, where they want to embarrass their kids because they think that it's funny or whatever. And I think that is funny sometimes, but I just feel like she's always constantly doing that, where it's like, oh, let me just say something very embarrassing on camera. Not that like giving birth and having a C-section is embarrassing, but you have to watch the episode and like feel the tone of it. It's just like, oh, look at me, I'm funny. It's very that. So yeah, she's doing her usual let me embarrass my daughter routine. And then I think Melissa's sister mentioned how Joe, I guess when Antonia was born, or when Joe found out that it was a girl, that he broke out in hives all over his body and started having a panic attack. I know that they retell this story in like a humorous, funny way, but that story, which has been mentioned in like earlier seasons, has always rubbed me the wrong way, and I always found it to be kind of weird. You are so freaked out by the fact that you have a female child, which obviously when you got your wife pregnant, you knew that it was like a 50-50% chance of it being one or the other, right? As much as I love Joe, I do like I have a soft spot in my heart for Joe, but I just feel like it speaks to the fact of like him being like such a freaking like caveman. It's such an unintentional projection of the way that he thinks about women and girls. What I imagine in my mind is that he's so freaked out by the fact that he had a daughter because he's thinking about the way that he looks at women. Does that make sense to you? I don't know. That story always was like kind of weird to me. Kind of weird, but okay, let's laugh about it. At the same brunch, Melissa's still doing her like let me embarrass my daughter routine. I need to do a deep dive on Melissa. She's very smart. She's very calculated, okay? And so like contrived. So she does this thing where she's like talking to Antonia. Oh, you're going off to college. You need to explore your oats. I felt like she was trying to play dumb. Like, oh, I don't know what this phrase is. You need to explore your oats. And she's like looking around. I'm very like into like vibes and like my intuition. And like I pay attention to everything. Like I notice everything. I notice like body language and subtle cues and things like that. She's like, oh, you need to explore your oats, right? Explore your oats? And then her sister's like, oh, you mean sow your oats? She's like, yeah, sow your oats. Ha ha ha. I watched Coming to America, okay? Doesn't he go sow his royal oats or whatever, which basically means like to explore sexually? At that same brunch, Nick and Mike, who are, I forgot which one is Melissa's cousin. I think her cousin is Nick and then his partner is Mike. They ask Joe to officiate their wedding, which is coming up. Joe, he gets a little teary-eyed because he's saying how much that he feels like they are his family. Remember the past seasons, like the Wakilis? He doesn't even have a relationship with Kathy Wakili, like Kathy and Rosie or any of them anymore. Why they don't have a relationship anymore? There's a reason why. So he starts to get emotional over the fact that he just feels so honored that they asked him to officiate their wedding. I must say that something that I've noticed with Joe in recent seasons is how the joy is no longer on his face anymore. He just often looks miserable at this point. Like if you compare him to how he was in earlier seasons, you know how Joe was, like he's very like goofy, happy-go-lucky, lighthearted, whatever, the life of the party. Like he's no longer that. The whole feud and everything has just worn him down. It changed his brain chemistry. And that just makes me so sad because I hate to see somebody so broken over something. So while Marge, Melissa, and Rachel are all playing pickleball, and they're talking about Teresa and the upcoming party and everything, Rachel does bring up the rumor again about how John allegedly was a big drug dealer or something like that, the biggest drug dealer in his county. And Rachel says that no, he was not the biggest drug dealer in the county. He got arrested one time when he was 17 for selling pot. It was like a one-time thing, and that's it. I don't know whether or not the rumors are true or not, because I just feel like if he was actually like this big, huge drug dealer, I think that there would be more information out there about it, unless he just like never got caught and this is just something known amongst people in the underworld, which obviously is a possibility. Stranger things have happened, but I'm personally not too hung up on the rumor. There's always the rumor, right? So later in the episode, we have Rachel and John meeting with Jenn Fessler. Rachel feels as though Jenn Fessler is straddling the fence, and she just is really irritated at the fact that Jenn Fessler is still friends with Teresa and she really, really likes her. This is where I personally start to get annoyed, okay? Rachel, for somebody who claims to be so unbothered, is like so freaking pressed by Teresa. Same with John, the eighth real housewife. The eighth housewife, that's what I'm gonna call him. The eighth housewife, John, is so pressed by Teresa. And Rachel is basically at this point telling Jenn Fessler that she should not be friends with Teresa. Like, she should not be friends with her. And John's like, well, I can't associate with anybody who is friends with Teresa. You can't be friends with her. Like, I can't associate with you if you're still friends with her, whatever. It's like very very girly. And so at this point in the episode, something clicked in my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, I see it now. Rachel and John are the next Jim and Amber Marchese. They're giving me that vibe at this point. And it's only episode 2. And I'm so annoyed with them as a couple. I am literally so annoyed. It's like, get a storyline, please. Why are you guys here? And by the way, I was like looking on Reddit, and apparently John has created like an IMDb page. He has like headshots taken, and it's like, bitch, don't you sell tile? Don't you have like a tile and like granite, marble, whatever company? What, you're trying to be an actor now? Stay in your lane. Stick to tile, girl. You're really Jim and Amber. Like, you're this season's Jim and Amber. I forgot if it was 5 or 6. But season 5 or 6 of Real Housewives of New Jersey was like the worst season. And Jim and Amber were the worst people ever cast on this franchise, and might possibly be the worst couple on all Real Housewives franchises as a whole. They are terrible people. Only time will tell what happens with that. So toward the end of the episode, where you're at the big party for Danielle Cabal and her husband, of course, before Teresa arrives, everybody's like, oh, Teresa's coming. What are you going to say? How are you going to react? Teresa. So they're all sitting around enjoying cocktails and whatever. You see Melissa and Danielle like quietly talking about Jenn Fessler's party that Rachel threw. And I think Rachel could kind of hear them, but they're saying how at Jenn Fessler's party, there was no food. Can I make a public service announcement? Bitch, do not throw a party without food. I don't care if it's a child's birthday party, a fucking kickback. Do not throw a party without food. At that point, don't throw the party, because it's rude. If I get there and there's not food, and then especially if there is alcohol and no food, it's like, bitch, I am leaving your party early. I'm going to get my drinks, multiple, and then I'm going to leave and I'm going to go eat somewhere. Like, I'm not staying at your party. If you throw a party, have food. At the very least, order some pizza. I mean, damn. That's totally me going off on a tangent. So Teresa, Jenn, and Dolores all arrive and give their like awkward hello. I love the part when Jenn Fessler asks Jen Aiden if she brought her marijuana pen. That is like totally something that me and my friends do. And look, bitch, can I just go on like a quick 30-second tangent? This is all I'm going to say. Is pot like legal now in all states? I'm not sure. I think it's still legal in some states, but in my state, I'm from California. I went through like a major pothead stage, and I still enjoy marijuana to this day. I'm grown. Like, I'm a fucking grown up, okay? Like, I've been on YouTube for so many years. I've been through so many eras on YouTube. And if you remember from back in the day, I was literally one of the first people here on YouTube to admit or mention, if you will, that I smoked pot back then. And people freaking roasted my ass for it, like ripped me a new one. They acted like I said that I smoked crack or something like that. Like, people ripped me a fucking new one. I say all that to say, it's just funny to me now how times have changed so much and how now we can openly enjoy our marijuana and talk about the fact that we enjoy marijuana as grown ass adults, which is like a lot safer than alcohol. Alcohol is like terrible for you. Although I do enjoy alcohol as well. So anyway, I just thought it was cute and funny how Jenn Fessler asked for Jen Aiden's pen, because like that's literally something that my friends and I do when we go certain places. And it's like, oh my gosh, we are all the same. So Teresa and Jenn Fessler go off to talk about this like alleged meeting. On my last video, I said that they met up at Rachel's house. They actually met up at Margaret Joseph's house, at Marge's house. So Teresa asked her just as a friend, like, did this meeting happen or not? And Jen is transparent with her because Jen is like such a good friend and she's such like an honest person. And then the other girls, like, they see Teresa and Jenn Fessler talking. Everybody else is just like kind of annoyed at the fact that Jenn Fessler is even talking to Teresa. So they're annoyed, like, why is Jen talking to Teresa? Blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, she's like fucking up the game plan, I guess. I don't know. In that conversation, Teresa does tell Jenn Fessler that she's adamant about the fact that Louis did not call Margaret Joseph's son. She even says, I put that on my 4 daughters. And I felt like that was like such a deep thing. I think that if anything, if Louis really did call Margaret Joseph's son, if that did happen, I feel like he did it. He called the son, but then he told Teresa otherwise. That's my theory. I don't think that Teresa would lie, and then especially lie and put something on her daughters. But I also wouldn't put it past Teresa to just accept whatever Louis tells her, and for Teresa to just stick her head in the sand, because she does have a history of playing dumb, or not even playing dumb, but being oblivious, being aloof, and sticking her head in the sand when it comes to certain things. She has a history of that, okay? And so that's just like my personal theory of what may have happened. The key takeaway here is that Jenn Fessler and Teresa are friends. I think they hug it out at the end, and Rachel is pissed off. Rachel is so mad that they're talking and that they're friends. She's like, she's pissed. And that's where that episode ends. And I want to say that one of my main takeaways from this episode is that I feel as though Jenn Fessler is almost being used as like a pawn or something like that, or like she's like a neutral party, and that Jenn Fessler is kind of in the middle. And I feel like this group right here really wants Jenn Fessler to be on their team. And so far it's not happening, and they're mad about it. But I have to end this video now because my battery is literally about to die. Thank you so much for watching. If I'm not here, I am on Instagram, I am on TikTok. I will leave links to everything that I can down below. Yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.